Hey everybody, this is Drifting is my hobby, and on this video I'm going to discuss about 5 different topics. This could be a couple of them for electric and the rest is for nitro. I've seen questions being asked, so I thought I'd go ahead and get these out the way for you guys, and if you have any more, please post your comments or any more questions down below. First one I'm going to start off with in this video is about aligning your steering servo if you're having problems with that, and I'll show you some of the tips that work for me. Now, the tips that I give is just my opinion on how I do things. There's many different opinions and different ways to do stuff in RC, so just take this as works for me. Okay, first, as I said, I'm going to be setting up your servos and aligning them on your radio. I'm saying this is just for a basic AM or FM radio, so this is just for this. First off, as you can see here, you have the steering servo. Now, everybody's going to be placed in a different place. I understand that, but the principle's the same. Okay, first off, what I do is I unscrew it. I unscrew the servo with the battery out. Okay, and then I take off the servo horn, and then I place a battery inside, and then I turn it on, turn on my radio, and then center out my steering trim. So I found my steering trim and I center that straight out to where it says 00, and that should align the servo. Okay, leave the radio on for a minute. And then what I do is I take the wheels and line them up to where they look about eye right to me. And then I place back on my steering servo back onto the servo. And then I screw it down. Now I turn off the power, unplug the battery to leave the servo centered. You can turn off your radio and you screw that back in. And then you can turn on your radio again, plug back in your battery, and then if you're off just a little bit, you can adjust just to get that perfect little... The only real way to be able to test that is to get it on the street and just go slow until you can actually trim, and that should actually kind of get you around center. Okay, so that's setting up your servo. If you have any more questions on that or comments, please leave it down below. The second thing I want to talk to you about is how to set your gear mesh. Now, this is on electric or nitro, and here you took off your motor, it slid a little bit or something like that, right? So here's what I end up doing. Is I always cut like a thin piece of paper. Just take a piece of paper and trim it down just about the width of the spur gear. Okay, that's either on your electric or your nitro. And then I'll take it and I'll feed it right into the top. I don't know if you're able to see that. Let's see if I can line it. Feed it right in. Okay? Leave it about right there, and I'll show that to you so you're able to get a better look on that. Okay? And then I'll take it and then I'll set my gear mesh right on it, and then I'll tighten it down, holding the motor in place. And just go ahead and tighten that on down. You might have to remove your rear wheel, which the spur is on your electrics, depending on where your motor's placed. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and feed that on through. And what you're looking for is something about like that. Okay, and another way to test it is by eyeballing it. I like to leave a little bit of a gap. Something similar here. I'll pull it out big. I'll pull out some big gears just to give, so you're able to see it a little better. I like to leave just about that much space, about right there. That's perfect. That way there's just a little bit of play in it. I don't know if you can see that, just like there's enough, a little bit of play. That's what you want to leave. You don't want it crunched up too tight or you'll be stripping stuff, and you don't want it too far away or you'll be stripping stuff. As I said, probably about right there is perfect. Just enough to give it a little bit of play. That's what you're looking for in setting your gear mesh. Okay? That's all I have on that. Let's start on with putting fuel in your nitro. This is back to nitro. Some of you guys already know this, I understand, but I'm just going to walk through the steps. Now, this is going to be starting and running your nitro. This is, most guys always ask me, hey man, how do I get it started and this and that, I'm having trouble. Well, first you take your fuel bottle with the fuel. I'm assuming that you're using a fuel bottle. You place your fuel inside of it. Okay. Like so. Leave your bottle handy. Give that a little close. And now, next thing that you'd want to do is of course turn on your radio first. Then turn on, make sure your batteries are good, make sure your servos are working, everything's good on that. And the first thing I like to do is when I inject the starter one, this is strictly for example because you won't be able to hear me if I start this up in my shop. So I take the starter one, I place it in the back of the motor, and I take my finger and I put it over the pipe. This is the priming. I give it a couple little zips. Zip, 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 zip. Okay? And that should move fuel from the fuel tank into the carburetor. You can actually see it move. So watch your fuel line right here to see if you got any bubbles moving up to the carburetor. Again, just 1 to 2 seconds max on priming. Just you can hold it in, let it off, and then hit it, and it should start right up. Using, if that doesn't work, hit your throttle a little bit if you can. Priming it, hit it, hold it while you're zipping the starter box or your pull start, however it works for you. Again, same principle with the pull start. You hold it and pull it probably about 4 or 5 times, or until you see the fuel move up into the carburetor. Okay, of course you're going to attach your glow igniter if you're using an easy start, you know, that's a 3. Okay, and that should fire you off. Okay, let's say that you've over primed it, right? And now it sounds like it's flooded. What you do is you get you a 5/16, because that's going to be the size of your, or 8mm, that's going to be the size of your glow plug. You stick that down in there and you take out your glow plug, like so. Okay? You take out your glow plug, lay it to the side for a second, and now if you're outside, you probably ain't going to use a rag. I'm just using it for example. You want to put the rag over the top of your motor and flip it upside down. Now if you have a pull start, you're going to pull it maybe 3 times to 4 times, 3 to 5 times, or you're going to spin start it for a couple of seconds. And that will, and your piston will push out the excess fuel that's in there. Take it, put it back in, your glow plug that is. Okay? Kind of give it a little snuggish. And then repeat the steps. This time only hold it for a second to prime it up. Okay? Could take off your inlet hose from your fuel tank, feel more comfortable if you feel like you're going to waste fuel. I just leave the fuel tank connected. It works just fine on clearing a flooded engine. So that's how you clear a flooded engine. Okay? Next I have for you is, after you get done running, say you want to take the fuel out of your fuel tank, like you've already got a half a tank of fuel sitting here and you're just kind of like, well, I'm done with it. It's always good to remove your fuel out of your fuel tank after each run. And I would use after run oil. They make 2 different kinds, maybe even more than that. These are the 2 that I'm going to show. I use after run oils. I said you put 3 drops down in your carburetor, 3 drops in your glow plug hole. This is after run maintenance. So if you're just wondering what I'm talking about, kind of skipping around here. I've seen 3 different ways that you can take fuel out of your fuel tank. Number 1 is to unplug from your inlet, let it hang, unplug from your exhaust, and blow into that hose, and it'll completely empty your fuel tank. Now me, I don't like to get my mouth around nitro, and that's not my big thing, so I leave all that connected. Another way I've seen people do is they'll take the model, turn it upside down, and open the lid and shake it. Again, that's another one I really don't like to mess with because I'm afraid that the nitro might get into my electric components or get all over my hands, and you know, it's just a big mess. So here's the way that I found easy is take your fuel bottle that you just used to fill it up, give it a good squeeze, stick it down in there, put it into one of the corners, and tilt the RC forward. And now you can start seeing it suck out the fuel. Okay, and right before it gets to the end of the suction, pull it out. Because these suction bottles, once they're fully expanded back, the fuel will start dumping out. So you can repeat the step if you didn't get all the fuel out. Squeeze it again, stick it down in there, and start sucking it all out. That's all there is to it. Okay, again, remove it before that the bottle expands all the way back out, and then you can discard your fuel. Most people put it back into the bottle. I don't recommend doing that, but that's your choice if you're kind of tight budgeted. I just discard this fuel.